everybody here is familiar with Ray McGovern, a brilliant former CIA analyst. Ray has been saying this for some time now, that the Russians, the red line that Russia made with Biden even before the special military operation began, going back to December, was you can't put missiles in Ukraine. And Biden said, oh, well, we're not going to do that. But then Biden backed off because the strategy of the United States and NATO has always been to put these missiles in Ukraine. Why? To launch the very kind of sequenced preemptive assault that I just described to you. Because the commander of Strategic Forces of the United States said that his favored course of action with the Russians is preemptive nuclear strike. This isn't a joke. The Russians read this, they hear this, they know this. This is the danger we face. Russia's always said this is a red line. There's some in the Pentagon that are respecting this. What we need to do is help amplify this, but now we come to one of the fundamental problems. The FBI knocked on my door on August 7th. They came in and seized my electronics right here in this wonderful little studio I call my workspace. Why? Because they're trying to make the case that I was an agent of the Russian government. Not the spy versus spy kind of agent, spying, because I'm not in the government anymore. I can't spy. No, I'm an agent of disinformation. I'm somebody there who's trying to undermine the election by spreading and propagating Russian disinformation. And I believe the FBI, who may or may not be watching this panel today, either directly or indirectly, because they've been in my house, so I assume that they're monitoring everything I say. And the FBI might say, well, what I'm doing right now is simply just Russian propaganda, Russian disinformation. This is the problem we face, because in trying to oppose bad policy, which is the duty and responsibility of every American citizen, I don't know why the FBI thinks that it's unpatriotic to try and disrupt an election. The mere fact that I pick one candidate or the other is disruptive, because I'm saying I support this over this. But we are in a situation now where the U.S. court system, backed by the Department of Justice, has promulgated an official definition of what they call disinformation. Disinformation isn't about the facts. Disinformation is that which deviates from the official narrative. And so now we have people like Hillary Clinton who are trying to criminalize people who are engaged in disinformation. That means that the mere fact that we speak out and challenge official policy somehow puts us at odds with the powers that be. So we're fighting a two-front war here. We're fighting a war where we have to explain to an American audience the importance of standing up to bad policy, and we have to fight a government that says that very act of explaining is criminal. And they're making it very difficult. We cannot let up. This is the existential issue of our time. There was a time back in 1775 where an American patriot on Bunker Hill, I believe, or maybe in Concord or Lexington, if they want to fight, let it begin here. Let it begin here. I just need to remind the audience again, the Constitution begins with the words, we the people. We the people. We're the only things that count. The government doesn't count. The government exists for us. The government is supposed to be responsive to us. The mechanisms used to control the government are set forth in the Constitution of the United States of America. And the First Amendment is the most empowering mechanism there is: free speech and a free press. If we yield on this, if we allow the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Biden administration to define what a free press is, to define what free speech is, to limit free speech, then I guess we deserve the fate we're going to get. And in this case, the fate will be the inevitability of a nuclear war, because the Biden administration, without any checks and balances, will take us straight down that path. We have to fight bad policy, but we have to fight in defense of our rights. And the defense of free speech and the defense of a free press right now are existential in nature. We cannot yield on this. We must continue to stand up and fight. I don't know how many people have been intimidated, and I have to say, myself included, by the new laws that were passed, or the new legislation that was passed, or the new sanctions that were set forth by the Department of Treasury, backed by various U.S. codes. But one of the things that they put in there is that they've sanctioned a wide range of Russian media outlets, and they've labeled them foreign missions. And there's a specific legal reason why they did that. But now what they've said is that anybody who engages with these sanctioned foreign missions and provides a goods or service, anything of value, is breaking the law. My lawyer, other lawyers have looked at this and said an interview with one of these sanctioned entities fits the definition of a good or service, not because money is exchanged, but because it becomes a thing of value for the sanctioned entity.
Mm.
And so they are literally breaking the law. They're literally violating the Constitution. Again, 18 U.S. Code Section 241 makes it a crime for any one person to conspire with one or more persons to violate the constitutional rights of an American, to take action to do that. The Department of Justice is literally in violation of U.S. law because by sanctioning, because to take action, and one of the things they say is through fear and intimidation, to impede the constitutional rights of an American. Well, what is the threat of imprisonment? What is the threat of having the FBI come to your door? What is the threat of bankrupting you by making you go through a legal process that could take months, if not years? That's fear and intimidation. And the U.S. government is in violation of its own laws. I will tell you this. I mean, I don't want to predict the future and everything like that. I'm a man of limited means financially, and I'm just one person. I'm not going to let them get away with this. If they want a war, let it begin now. Let it begin here. We are at war. It's a legal war. It's a constitutional struggle, but we are at war. We have domestic enemies in the United States. I'm someone who took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And there are domestic enemies today, and I can name them: the Department of Justice, the National Security Division of the FBI, the Biden administration itself. They're at war with the Constitution. They're at war with the American people. I'm not talking about violence. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I would never support violence. What I am supporting is the rule of law. I am supporting defense of the Constitution. The U.S. government has given us a mechanism to fight back. We have a court system. It's time to take the U.S. government to task, and we need to counterattack. We don't need to sit here and let them come at us. We need to come at them, preempt their assault on the Constitution. So anybody who feels that they have been threatened by the U.S. government, intimidated by this sanctioning in a way that limits your free speech, limits your ability to speak to whom you want to, limits your ability to engage in the exercise of a free press, you might want to consider maybe making common cause with people and finding a way to make we the people a weapon against the tyranny that the Biden administration and their agencies in the U.S. government are trying to impose on us.